So I went to the last interest meeting, which was in Blount TV Lounge, and I remember the day of. I wanted to make sure that I was dressed appropriately because this was the first impression that ORL would have of me, and I went and it was very informative, and I think that was the first point when I actually knew that being an RA was really something that I wanted to do. I have a passion to make sure that people are always okay, and if people need help, that I'm always the one to help them, and it basically was step one to me knowing that this was the job for me. So the process for me was interesting because I can say that I knew when it was due, but I always said, well, I have time to do this. I'm gonna set this day aside to do this. I'm gonna set this day aside to do this. And every time I tried to do that, it never went. It never went through. And so it came to the point where the weekend before the application was due, I was doing it. I had my letters of recommendation out. Like the people that I wanted to do it, I already knew about that. But in terms of everything else that the application required, I was doing the weekend before. And the day of, I was actually running around trying to make sure I got everything together. And I got the application in, thank God, at 4:30. But it was just a test because I was running from one side of campus to the other side of campus to make sure I got it down. And at one point in time, I did ask myself, I said, well, is this something that I really want to do? And I know that this job is greater than me. The job is greater than anything else. It's more about helping the community and helping others. And so I knew that I was going to make myself and push myself to do this because it was something that I wanted to do. I wasn't going to just give up. So the first place where I did my shadowing was at Blount, and the two people that I was shadowing was Ella and Reagan. So Ella was taking care of the front part of the desk, and Reagan was doing the visitation, and she allowed me to get a feel for the log and how you're supposed to take the bear cards. You're supposed to put it in the right slots based on the room numbers, and also at the same time there was a woman extravaganza that was going on in the lobby. The second place that I did my shadowing was Thurgood, and I had Brianna, and she was very nice. Also, she, made sure if I had any questions or anything, she answered it, and she basically just went through everything that Thurgood entails because essentially Thurgood and Blount are similar, but they're also different because Thurgood are apartments, and so everyone has their own basic space, and Blount is different. Carousel. So during carousel, we met up with our groups. When we first got there, it was kind of awkward because everyone doesn't know each other. But I'm like, hey, how are you? Just speaking to people because to me, speaking to people, you just never know what you can do to their day just by saying hello to them. So we got in our groups and we did the popcorn actual icebreaker, and it was really cool because it was like this person would say, well, my name is such and such and such, and my favorite color is red. The next person would say my favorite color is red, and so it was very just like it was a great icebreaker because it was cool for us to get to know each other but also get comfortable within each other. And so once we did that or whatever, then we broke off into our groups and we had different training sessions. We were given scenarios about, well, if this happened and this happened, if your resident says this, then what would you do? And I would say that it was very enlightening because some things were kind of like, well, I'm this type of RA, so this is what I would do. But then there's also like the other person that would say, well, I'm this type of RA, and that's what I would do. But it was like everyone was able to essentially come together and talk amongst each other, and we all were able to get each other's perspectives on the situations, and then like the actual RAs would say, well, this is how the appropriate way to handle it, this way and this way and this way, and then the action steps to further the situation would be this. So I would say carousel was very enlightening. And everyone for the most part was just like we were all cool, we were all talking to each other. I didn't feel out of place at all. I actually felt like I was right at home. So while we were in Carousel, they called us out individually to do interviews, and my interview was very interesting. I will say that when I walked in the room, I kind of knew all of the RAs, so it was kind of like, I wonder who they're gonna sit me with. But they ended up sitting me with two RAs that worked in Marble, and so we spoke, hi, how are you, and things like that. And so we got into the questions, and I remember them saying, wow, like you're really answering these questions, like you're doing a good job so far. But I know that I was nervous because I'm the type of person where I don't like to write scripts for things. I like everything to be genuine. And I like it to just be, who I am as a person. And so essentially, every answer that I gave was just my first take on the question, my first thoughts that came from the question. So the interviews were actually really good. All right. Okay. So the next step in the application process was the actual group activity. So basically, my group came up with our poster's vision to be tunnel vision. And basically, what it means is to let go of all of the distractions when finals come, the partying, the not wanting to do work, to letting go of all of that and actually, getting good grades on your finals, because essentially the job to be at Morgan is to graduate. And so for our program, what we did was we did actual game night, and our community that we had was Third Good. And basically, Third Good is everyone's in their own area because they have their own apartment. And so we tried to bring everyone together by doing a game night, and we did a couple of things such as Pictionary, where they had to draw out things from Morgan. We did bingo, and we basically had a really good time. We all worked together to make sure our execution was on point. We talked in our group meet to make sure, who doesn't have this, who doesn't have that, to make sure that we all can get it so that the day of we can just smoothly run through everything. The two events that I went to throughout the whole RA process was, the first one was basically, it was just defining the definition of a man. Is it masculine, is it feminine? What, are there certain roles that a man has to play? Is there certain roles that a man can't play? And then also, it's the event that was basically, it was just talking about teenagers and how we, drink and smoke and stuff like that. But is it okay for us, if we have friends that are like that, are we going to help them? Are we not going to help them? Also, just giving us statistics on the different diseases and stuff that are out there in the world in the different areas.
Stacia, gonna stop playing in my face. Where you going?